I grew up with, no, ghosts don't exist. That's all in your head. But I've experienced certain things where I'm like, wait, I'm not crazy. I know that I'm feeling something. I'm hearing something.
Magic is something very simple. It's that your will becomes reality. If your will is to do harm, that's what you would call black magic. But technically, it's just magic.
What's been the craziest thing that you've experienced? Something, paranormal.
Oof.
Te han pasado muchas, ¿eh?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Chiquis and Chill. It's your girl Chiquis, and damn, do we have an episode for you today. It's about all things paranormal. I'm talking about ghosts, magic, and everything in between. So why wait? Let's get into it. This is Chiquis and Chill. My guest today is José Antonio Badía. He's a comedian, influencer, and the host of two very popular podcasts, Leyendas, Legendarias, and Escuela, Secreta, which is part of my Cultura family. I can go on and on about how great these two podcasts are, but let's introduce our guest. José Antonio, welcome to Chiquis and Chill. How are you? ¿Cómo estás?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to talk to you. I have so many questions. Okay, soy bien preguntona, so just FYI.
Y yo soy bien contestón.
Okay, perfecto. Awesome. So first of all, tell me about your podcasts.
Yeah, of course. Well, Leyendas Legendarias was a little side project we started about true crime, the paranormal, and, just strange history. But with comedy, because we're all comedians. On my part, I wanted to do all of these things, but with good research. Because in Mexico, like everything about La Llorona or scary stuff, they always trying to scare you like, oh, estaba bien malo y venía. And I wanted to do this like seriously, as in where the research comes in, but have fun with it and joke about it and true crime and, make fun of the serial killers. Because I think that's important that we put them down because sometimes they become like heroes. And I speak a lot about magic and like chaos magic. So from there, people wanted to know more, right? So I came up with another podcast called Escuela, Secreta, or The Secret School. So the secret schools, they are really old schools from thousands of years ago, where they would teach you about the occult and esoteric science and all of these things. And so what I did is from Leyendas, I did this little podcast for everybody that was interested in just the magic part and everything. And that's why I went full in, into magic, what it actually is, and rational Satanism, Wicca, and witchcraft, and just the left-hand path. All of these things that people, because of fear and folklore and everything, they get it wrong.
Yes.
And they're scared of it. When all of these things are made to enlighten us and to make us better persons inside, right?
I like that word, enlighten us, porque it's absolutely true. I grew up with, no, ghosts don't exist. That's all in your head. But I've experienced certain things where I'm like, wait, I'm not crazy. I know that I'm feeling something. I'm hearing something. And then they want to get scared about it. And I don't feel like I'm scared. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like sometimes in my old house, when we lived allá en Norcoya por the Inland Empire, I would hear things in my room. My door would open. The door was super heavy. There was no wind. So it would just open at night and it would make that little screechy noise like, right? And then I would tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, my door opens in the middle of the night. She's like, no, estás loca. You're crazy. There's no way. I was like, okay. And then one night I was laying in bed awake, okay? Completely awake. I was on the phone. Y te lo juro que yo estaba acostada and on my left leg, I felt someone like, you know how like when someone gets on the bed, it sinks, the bed sinks?
Yeah.
So that happened and my foot I felt it like they were crawling on my bed and I was like, I yelled and I was like, Mom, something's going on again. You're crazy. That's all in your mind. It's your conscience, she told me. I'll never forget. Es tu conciencia. Algo estás haciendo mal.
Clásico de mamá.
Exacto. And I was like, Mom, no. Then one time I was asleep. This is a true story. I was asleep and in the same room, I hear like a little, I felt it on my right and I heard it and it woke me up and I was like, what the F? Told my mom, again, lo mismo. But literally a week later, a lady from across the street came over. We had moved into the house like 6 months before. And she said, hi, I just want to introduce myself. I see you guys moved in. Do you guys know the history about the house? And I'm like, no, what history? She's like, oh, well, actually, the person that owned this house, that built this house years ago, he actually committed suicide. And I'm like, no way. They're like, oh, they didn't disclose that information to you? I'm like, no, because they're supposed to. Cuando uno compra una casa, they're supposed to tell you what happened, no? And they
depending
didn't.
on the state, technically.
Depending on the state too. So they didn't. And anyways, she told me that it was in my bedroom, that he committed suicide in my bedroom. So I was like, Mom, see, I'm not crazy. So yeah. So anyways, that's just my little story, but I believe in it.
That's a residual thing. And exactly, that's why I tell people all the time, like, the phenomena is real. I'm adamant about this. It's real, but we just don't understand it. So we've tried to explain it with religion and fear and folklore instead of trying to look at it from a scientific point. So I think we should look at this phenomena as, it exists. It's happened to me too. Like I something pulled my leg in bed. Something pulled my leg. I woke up and my leg was up in the air and I couldn't move. And I know they say like cuando se te sube el muerto, ¿no?
Sí, ajá.
And science says like it's because your brain woke up but your body didn't. And that's like, well, that's maybe why you can't move. But how can you explain my dog going crazy, barking at something that was there? And my dog was like super calm, corgi, never did that. She was on my chest and then like jumping around the bed like something was trying to grab her. And then for days after that, she wouldn't go near the closet because I heard it like come down. I couldn't see it. I just felt it. And my dog followed it too. And it went into the closet. And for days, my dog would not go near the closet. So
no manches.
How can you explain that? Something happened there.
Yes.
And that's the big conundrum with paranormal stuff. If the proof is really good, people are going to say it's fake. If the proof is not good enough, they're going to say, why don't you have a good camera? Unless somebody experiences something for themselves, you will not be able to convince them if they don't want to. But us that has had things happen to them, we know without a doubt that the phenomena is real.
Absolutely. And because of that experience, is that why you got into the paranormal, or was it something before?
Oh, I was born with it. Since I was a kid, like in kindergarten, they made us make some drawings. And the teacher's like, what's that? And I'm like, that's a purple monster. My mom has no idea where I got the word monster from, why I was drawing monsters, anything.
Oh.
And I've always had an obsession with the paranormal and the supernatural and all of these. And then as I got older, I started getting into Wicca and magic. My master's degree was in creative sciences and how to use the occult as a creative process. So I got even deeper into the actual teachings of the esoteric. So I've been doing this for like 25 years. And now I've started to talk about that and everything I've learned on this podcast. So people will stop fearing it and start looking at it more as how it should be seen.
Right.
The esoteric arts and the occult arts, they're trying to explain the world that science is just barely trying to touch. Like quantum physics, this has been described with other words, of course, since thousands of years ago in esoteric texts. They just had other words for it. And now how consciousness affects, the quantum molecules and everything, entanglement, all of these things. So science is just catching up, proving it, putting words in it. But we know all of this is true.
Y ahora tell me about magic. How does that work?
Magic, I told you, it's like it's the same. It's just your will becoming reality. Okay. And then there's a lot of schools of magic. There's like hermetic magic, which is incredibly hard. And it's the classic TV trope magic with the robes and the silver daggers and this people chanting and everything. So that's one way. Then there's chaos magic, which is what I practice the most, which is basically punk magic or pop magic.
Okay.
Here's the thing. So it doesn't matter if it's hoodoo or voodoo or hermetic or everything. Every single school of magic is looking for one thing, which is called gnosis.
Okay.
So gnosis is a state of mind where you're not asleep and you're not awake.
Okay.
Like if you wake up in the middle of the night and sometimes you'll even get up, go to the bathroom and drink some water, go to sleep, and then you don't even remember if you did it or not.
Yes.
That's the state of gnosis.
Okay.
So every school of magic finds a way to get you to that point because that's where then your will can go over your ego because our ego is a pragmatic, dogmatic, materialistic part, right? That'll go like, it's not going to happen. But if you're in that state, you can just project that onto the universe. And then it might happen, it might not. Okay. And it does not go against the rules of physics and its probabilities. Let's say you want to win the lottery, but you don't buy a ticket. Right. So what would need to happen is somebody would have to buy a winning lottery ticket, then lose it, and then the air is going to have to push it to where you are. The odds of that happening are astronomical.
Yeah, está cañón.
So you need to work halfway towards your goal.
Yes. Okay.
And then everything will match up. That's how it works. I would really recommend like Wicca. It's a really good practice because it's really spiritual. Or just go straight to chaos magic, which is basically Robert Anton Wilson. He's the one that figured out like it doesn't matter if you're praying to God or Batman or Vishnu. What matters is that you believe.
Yes. Faith is yes.
So when you pray to like, I don't know, Archangel Michael, what you're praying to is what he represents. So if, I don't know, you're scared of public speaking, you can pray to the Joker or Loki because they represent somebody that wouldn't be afraid of public speaking, right? That's how belief works.
Right.
So in magic and in chaos magic, it's just about belief. Just believe that this can happen. And it teaches you a really simple method, which is called sigils, sigil magic, where you turn a phrase, let's say, I want to have a corgi, which is actually how I got my corgi with magic. I found it on the street and I adopted it.
Oh.
Yeah. And so you transform your phrase into a symbol. And then with gnosis, you just put it in your brain and then you forget about it. And then it happens. And sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't happen, you think about why it didn't happen. Because sometimes what you want is not what you need.
Yes.
For example, I did a lot of spells because I wanted tenure. I teach university for 7 years. And I wanted tenure. And I was like, this is what I want. I'll have a steady job, steady income and everything. And I didn't get the job. Had I gotten the job, I wouldn't have a podcast. And I wouldn't be doing exactly what I love. And that's why it didn't happen.
Yes.
Magical thoughts, right? The wheel of fortune is always turning. So when you're down, you need to learn. When you're up, you need to be happy and, give that happiness to everybody else. And it's always turning. So this is what magic teaches you.
Yeah.
But if they want to start, I would say Wicca or just go straight to chaos magic. I mean, you can find the chaos magic books online and start doing sigils. And then for gnosis and chaos magic is the orgasm. That's the main way humans, we have it in us to have that little blink into gnosis, into the universe. That's why we feel like, we understand that everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So in that moment, you can skip the 2 hours of meditation or of chanting to Cthulhu, the god, and just go straight to an orgasm with your symbol and you're done.
Okay. ¿Cuál es la Wicca? What's Wicca again?
Wicca is it's basically like a more modern take on witchcraft. So it started in the UK.
Okay.
Wicca is a form of paganism religion or way of life. So it's very Wiccan, it's very witchcrafty. You go to the forest or the outside. It's Mother Earth. It's the nature spirits, the fae, and, just being one with nature.
Ooh, I like that. You say we shouldn't be scared, for the listeners here. Tell us why. Because in my mind, I feel like como existe lo bueno, existe lo malo. There's black magic and white magic. It just depends on your intention.
Yeah, it's actually, there's just magic. It's a tool. Just like there's no good knives and bad knives.
Okay.
A knife is a knife.
A knife
Depends
is a knife.
on the user.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it. Okay.
Yeah, you can cook food or commit a crime. And with magic, it's the same thing. Magic is a tool. Magic it's something very simple. It's that your will becomes reality. That's it. So if your will is to do harm, that's what you would call black magic. But technically, it's just magic.
I see. Okay. So for instance, let's just put this, because I love to light candles and stuff like that. So I feel like when I light a candle, I put good intentions. I speak to the universe, I speak to God and put all my intentions into this candle. That the same person or another person can get the same candle and maldecir a alguien, ¿no?
Yeah, that's what magic teaches us. We create the world around us. It starts in here, in our brain.
In our brain.
And then we manipulate it with words. What we are doing right now, it's magic. Ideas, I'm putting them into words. I'm moving the airwaves. They're getting into a microphone and I'm putting my ideas into your head. That's magic. That's why every magic, oraciones and everything, there's words and there's rhymes and there's poetry.
Right. As I'm having this conversation, I'm learning so much. I mean, things that I feel like I've known intuitively, but I just don't know how to put it in words like you do. You know what I mean? Because I have a vision board and I believe so much in vision boards. And I feel like it's just, I say it like, it's like magic. It happens. Like you just said, it's believing it, having faith, and doing something every single day to make that a possibility. Not just sit there and be like, que todo te caiga del cielo. You know what I mean? Like,
no va a pasar.
It's
everybody would have a Ferrari if it were that simple.
Como
right?
dice ahí, dice, ayúdate y yo te ayudaré.
Yeah. And what you're saying is completely true. It's hardwired into us. Like the first cave paintings, they were not just to, remember the hunt. They were painting a scene that they wanted to happen. So before going out, they would paint the mammoth or the prey. They would paint themselves doing a successful hunt. And it was their way of projecting that into the universe. Then they would go out. So they were sigils. And then when we're kids, when you write the name of the person you like and then your name or their name a bunch of times and hearts, you're doing magic.
You're manifesting that.
It's sigil magic. You're trying to manifest, even if nobody has ever told you about this. It's hardwired into us.
That's crazy. Okay, and what do you tell people that don't believe? Like, have you ever gotten someone that, no te creo? Like, what do you tell people?
All the time. And I tell them, like, I can't convince you, but as an example, I always use because now I have a second corgi. My first corgi passed away like 2 years ago.
Oh.
And then I made a sigil and I got another corgi adopted again. So I always tell people, like, just explain the odds of me in Ciudad Juarez, where there's 20 corgis in the whole city, of me getting 2 of them adopted. And even if you don't believe it was with magic, I made magic and I got what I wanted. So what's the difference? If you're saying like, it's just good luck or it's probability, and like, that's exactly what magic is, probability.
Yes.
And I choose to look at this as a magical aspect of something I did.
Absolutely.
And what I tell people is, even if you don't believe in it, at least try to have like a magical brain. Magic is everywhere. Wonder at eclipses, or how plants grow, at the little coincidences in life.
It's true.
If you can always look at that with wonder, you will always have an open mind, an open brain. You'll be happier. You'll be more empathetic towards other people.
Now, do you feel that magic is somewhat similar to religion, or I feel like they kind of intertwine in a way, no?
Well, religion has magical attributes and rituals. Like, for example, El Rosario, or in church, like repeating the Psalms over and over. Those are pagan magical practices used to change the brain. But in religion, they use it towards a god or one thing. In magic, you're the one doing the thing. There are no gods that gave you something or did not give you anything. It's you and the universe.
Okay.
And whatever you do is on you, and whatever doesn't happen, it just didn't happen. You're responsible for everything. So that's the main difference. Like even in Wicca, they believe in the goddess. There's energy, and everything has a male or female energy. Yes. And it's not about man and women. It's just opposites. Everything's black, white, fire, darkness. And all of these energies are there, and you interact with them. But they won't judge you. They will not send you to hell. And you can ask for a favor, but it's so you can help yourself. Like what I was telling you with Joker or the Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
They're just figures. So it's not really a religion in the sense that there's a God and there's all these rules. And if you break him, he's going to punish you.
Right. I know. And that's what I feel like religion has done, or what my personal experience is, instill so much fear that it's hard for you to even grow to your full potential because you're so damn scared. You know what I mean? But now that you're talking about it, I'm like, okay, like I've seen a lot of people have their San Juditas, and like what you're talking about, Archangel Michael and stuff. It's San Judita lo que representa. St. Judas, you guys, it represents money, like abundance and prosperity. Yeah. So it's kind of like what you believe in. It's like without you even knowing, it's not really the statue that you may have is kind of what I'm taking right now. It's you putting in that intention of, me va a ir bien en mi negocio. I'm going to do well. And you're calling that. You're actually creating the magic yourself. Anyways, I have another question. Yo y mis preguntas, ¿no?
Sí, no, dale.
Exorcisms. What do you think about that?
Okay, so exorcisms are weird. First of all, there's no really good documented case of an exorcism that wasn't just a mental health issue that was handled horribly, because a lot of them have ended in death. And in Leyendas Legendarias, we talked about a lot of exorcism cases, and they can all be explained with just folklore and religious people going into the exorcism instead of going to a doctor or a psychiatrist. So I do think some people sometimes feel like they're not in control. I do not believe like it's demons, because if we talk about demons with exorcisms, then we must assume there's only the Christian God and his demon, right? Because you have exorcisms in other cultures, but they're not demons. Sometimes they're evil spirits, or they're jinn, or they're just bad frequencies. The one thing that bugs me is if there was really proof of an exorcism, the church should just make a video of that and then show it to people, and that would get everybody converted and prove that they are the one true religion, right? And any religion could do this, because that would make people believe, and they've never done this. I know people have felt they're possessed or they act differently, but I think it's more mental health until I see further proof.
All right. Yeah, because I mean, I'm telling you, my family's Christian, and I don't consider myself Christian. I respect all religions, you know, soy más espiritual, you know, but I do feel like it's therapy and meditation and prayer and doing something every single day for your mental health will prevent a lot of things. And I feel like I've proven it myself, because I once, like, I don't know, like in 2009, I felt like something evil was, I didn't know how else to explain it, because I was just barely being like enlightened with my spirituality. And I just said, oh, well, I feel like something evil is lurking in my body, like something's going on. That's when someone told me you should meditate, and I looked into it and everything. And ever since I've done that, I feel like, oh, it all starts in the mind. It starts with one thought and it just starts growing and growing. It's a snowball effect. And you just have to unwind that and really, como se dice, like unwind your body and your mind every single day. And for me, it's helped so much. Meditar en la mañana me ayuda tanto.
Totalmente de acuerdo. I do the same. Like every morning, I grab a glass of water when I wake up, and I go outside and I just drink my glass of water without cell phones, nothing, just me and my thoughts.
Yes.
Alone. And I think that's enough. If people don't want to spend like 15 minutes to meditate for 15 minutes, just try that.
Dude, I like that, because yo también, I have my water every morning, and that's the first hour of my morning, nothing but water. And I feel like I'm just kind of watering my plant, which is me, so I can grow. And sometimes it is harder to meditate than other days. Sometimes I'm like, I can't concentrate. So I'm going to try that too. Just go outside and be with my thoughts. I like that. But have you ever played the Ouija board?
Oh, yeah, a bunch of times.
Oh, really? Okay, I've never tried it. Eso sí te voy a decir, neta, I get a little bit scared. I'm like, okay, but explain to me a little bit more, because I'm a little intrigued about that.
Yeah, so people are really scared of it, and you shouldn't be. It's actually funny, because the Ouija board as we know it, it's called a divining board. So there were a lot of them, a lot of models before we got to the well-known one with the alphabet and the planchette, which is a little thing that moves. So they had ones with the planchette had a little pencil, and it would write the words. And like in the 18th century, when spiritualism was a thing, families would get together and play the Ouija board. This was not about devils or demons or anything. It was talking to the dead or to something that we don't know what it is and getting answers.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Then the church got a hold of it, and they're like, no, this is from the devil and blah, blah. And everybody started fearing it. My theory, my take on the Ouija board is that I think there's this whole collective consciousness around the world. We're all connected consciously. And you can go to the Schumann resonance, which is this frequency that surrounds the earth. That's like 7.6, 7.8 hertz, which is about the hertz we get in our brains when we're meditating.
Okay, yes.
So everybody's thoughts, ideas, our consciousness is connected that way. And not just humans, animals too. So I think the Ouija board is just one way of connecting to this frequency where you can get somebody else's consciousness, frequency, intelligence. And then by micro movements in our muscles, it'll start moving the planchette. So you use your body as like an antenna, and you're grabbing onto radio waves. Let's call them that.
Oh, okay. So it is for sure from someone that has passed, obviously. You can't, es alguien que no está aquí ya, o no se sabe.
No se sabe porque, I mean, they've done experiments with rats where they'll teach them how to navigate a maze. And then the same species of rats, like this was in Australia and the others in the USA, and they'll learn immediately how to navigate the maze once part of them know about it. They're connected. So I think humans have the same thing. I can't say for sure if it's dead people or people that are alive, or just the information of of centuries of human consciousness and animal consciousness that you tap into and then reproduce on the board. But I am sure there's nothing evil about it. But I do tell people when they ask me, I say two things, because they're always like, I want to play, but I'm curious. I'm just like, look, first, the worst thing that could happen is that it won't move. Usually you won't be in the mood and nothing will happen. And second thing is do the goodbye thing. You know, they always tell you like, dude, say goodbye. This is not because something bad will happen, but this is because if something, whatever happens the next day, you know, your car battery runs out, you'll probably think to yourself, oh, that's because I didn't say goodbye on the Ouija board. And then you're going to sabotage yourself and everything. So just for peace of mind, just do it. But you don't have to. Yeah.
Let's get into ghosts real quick. I know we talked about them a little bit, pero lo que a ti te jaló la pata, lo que I felt on my bed and was breathing in my ear, is that a quote unquote ghost, or is that a spirit, or what do we call that exactly? I mean, because I know that I experienced it. I felt it 100%.
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm. And I believe you. And I've had a bunch of experiences. And I think we need to look at them as depending on the case. If you call it a ghost, it kind of forces you to believe that there's life after death. And then there's a person stuck between this world and the other.
Okay.
So that's hard to prove, but we do know that there's a bunch of different types of paranormal activity types. Mm-hmm. For example, when things move around the house and glasses fly away, usually that's called a poltergeist.
Okay.
Or a noisy ghost. So poltergeist, what's been discovered till now in parapsychology is it's usually caused by somebody in the house. And it's usually a teenager.
Okay.
And it's basically just telekinesis se repite, and they don't know they're doing it. So let's say with the hormones, 12-year-old girl with hormones gets mad at her mom. She's like, I hate you, mom. Leaves the room, and then a plate goes flying out the window. That was the girl doing it, not a ghost. And that's why usually in that kind of situation, they'll move to another home. And the ghost will follow them, quote unquote. Uh-huh. It's not the ghost following them. It's the kid still has this telekinesis that she doesn't know or he doesn't know about it. And when they grow up, it'll just end. And that's what happens with poltergeist. They just stop.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Now, in your case, for example, that sounds more like what they call a residual kind of energy, mm-hmm. a residual ghost or apparition. Okay. Because there's this theory called the stone tape theory. So energy is energy, right? Uh-huh. And everything around us is absorbing our thoughts and our emotions and everything. So when, I don't know, the weather and the atmospheric pressure and all things are perfect, this like a hologram of a person will appear. Mm-hmm. And it'll move around the house. It'll sit on the bed. Mm-hmm. It's not conscious. It's not actually thinking about what it's doing. It's just like a recording.
Okay.
That keeps moving around. Yeah. And then you have the rarest kind, which is like the intelligent kind of apparition, where you can ask it, like, can you open the door? And it'll open it, uh-huh. or move something and it'll move it, and it'll actually communicate in a way with you.
I see.
Depending on the case, you need to look at all of the factors around it to determine what it could be. Of course, first you need to determine that it's not, an old pipe.
Yeah.
Or a mouse in the wall.
Yeah.
But like something sitting on your bed, that's obviously something was there. Mm-hmm. And by the looks of it, it's kind of residual. It maybe touched you because it's moving around. Actually, it's really common that people start having a haunting in their house when they remodel.
Because you're moving the energy, no?
Not just the energy. Also, you're putting out stuff. Let's say a ghost walked through part of the house. You've never even noticed it.
Yeah.
But now there's a glass plate there.
Okay.
So now that energy is going to hit against that, and you're going to hear it. Okay. And it's not that it's haunting you. It's always been just moving there like a recording. But now it has something to interact with.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's really interesting that the whole case in parapsychology and the paranormal and paranatural, I think it's something that science needs to look more into.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And now that we're on this topic, before we close, what's been the craziest thing that you've experienced? Something, paranormal.
Oof. Well, super quick. I was in the middle of the forest here in Chihuahua, uh-huh. in La Sierra Tarahumara. And we were in a cabin and we were in the attic, me and my friend. And you could see like just beyond the bed and the rest was just dark. And something started walking right in the dark, and then it started walking toward the bed. We put the sheets on our faces. It walked to my side of the bed and then to my friend's side of the bed. We could hear it perfectly. And then we were laughing. We were so scared that we were laughing. And then the attic door opens, and it's my friend's dad. And he's like, stop walking over there. You're not letting us sleep, because they were sleeping on the house. And we were like, oh, shit, they heard it too.
Oh, my God.
It wasn't just us imagining these steps. That was one. But the truly creepiest one, we went to a house that I had an ex-girlfriend who was studying psychology, and the teacher rented a house where they would do their practices and everything, and it was super haunted. But like good psychologists, they tried to deny it until they just couldn't. Like doors would open, the patients would hear it, things would disappear. It was just weird. So one day they finally said, okay, you can come investigate. So I was like, let me go investigate. So we were there. Nothing happens. Most of the time in ghost hunting situations, nothing happens. But this time we were outside. We were always ready to go. And we hear a ruckus, like something broke inside. We run inside, and there was like 3 doors to the left side of the house. There was this hallway. And I had this like, well, scientific method, as much as you could call it, that you would open a door and then we would close it and then check it. This was so because an open door can move because of air currents or something. Yeah. But a closed door, if it opens, it's harder to explain. Of course. Right? So we do that on the first door, which was a room with more activity. And nothing, take pictures, nothing closed. Second door, nothing closed. When we were getting to the third door, the knob on the first door starts moving. No. Like, clack, 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 clack. We turn around and 4 of us saw it like until the door opened, like somebody kicked it. And slammed like 3 times and stopped. We went over there. We took pictures. Yeah. And wait, it gets creepier. We took pictures. Those were the only pictures with orbs. I mean, orbs can sometimes be insects, but these were weirder. So that happens. We were outside. We were talking about like, okay, everybody tell me exactly what you saw. And blah, blah. And then this was just deduction. I looked down and there was this big tree where we would hang out, and it was dead. And all the trees around the next properties, they were alive. And then right next to the tree, there was this big patch without grass. So I started thinking and just, logical reasoning. And I'm like, I think they buried something here. They hit the roots and that killed the tree. And that's it. We went home. I told my ex-girlfriend what happened. And I told her about my theory with the tree. 3 days go by and the teacher calls me like at 10 p.m. and she's like, get over here. Things are just the worst. I want you to dig. We start digging. And then, I don't know, after 2 feet, I start getting pieces of like bed sheets. I remember it even had the JCPenney tag on it. And then pieces of a black plastic bag, but the thick ones. And then like 3 feet in, I pull like this much hair, like a clump of hair. Yeah, like 15 inches long and like my finger thick of that clump. I pull it there, and that's where the teacher went like, put that back in, stop digging. I don't want to know anything else.
Híjole.
Anything. And we left it like that. Yeah. And that house still there. I don't know if she ever called the cops. I don't know what happened, but that story is still with me till this day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So te han pasado muchas, ¿eh?
Sí.
Pero yo creo que así como because you're, I guess as we know, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had an experience in a while, but I was just curious. Y ya, mi última pregunta, ya. So que estoy chingando yo, pero
Para nada.
No sé cómo se llama esta hierba, but there is something, a friend of mine wanted me to do it with her. I believe we were in Tulum.
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca, ajá.
Yes.
¿Qué piensas tú de eso? Nomás porque nunca lo he hecho. I've never tried it. I'm kind of curious, to be honest. But what happens when you do that? Do you know about that?
Yes, I've done it 4 times.
Oh, nice. Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me.
Yeah, so ayahuasca is really cool. What it has, it's a mixture of plants, but the active ingredient is DMT. Oh. So our brain produces DMT naturally. When you dream, your brain makes a tiny bit of DMT. And what they say is that when you're born and you cry, and the first time you're awake after the womb, that's like the brain shoots you up with DMT. And they believe that's the same that happens when you die. Your brain shoots you up with DMT and sends you into an eternal dream. So with ayahuasca, you get this shot of DMT, which basically makes your brain see the matrix that makes the universe. You see the cells on plants, you see things breathing, you understand yourself. You can go inside yourself and actually literally see yourself inside yourself and just become one with the universe, because you're in this dream state, but you're awake. What I do really recommend, if anybody wants to try it, is they do it in a safe space with as few people as possible and with somebody that knows what he's doing so they can guide you. And you will throw up.
I know. I heard about that. My friend said she threw up horribly, but then the days after she felt better. She felt lighter.
In one session, a girl had just lost her father. And in one session, she was crying for hours and then laughing and everything. And when she was done, she finally she let go. She was mourning for like 9 months. And with one session, she was able to let go.
Oh, wow. La verdad, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I learned so much. Again, I apologize for all my questions, but thank you for answering them. You were awesome. And before you go, please share your socials, your podcast, tell people anything and everything you want them to know.
Oh, thanks. So you can find me, I'm El Badiablo, like Bad Devil, but Badiablo. And you can listen to Leyendas, Legendarias on any podcast place that you hear podcast, also YouTube. And the Escuela Secreta, the first season is done. You want to know about magic? That's where you go.
Perfect. Thank you guys. Thank you, Antonio, so much. And everyone listening, you know that we always end with a quote, motivational quote. So aquí les va. The quote is, "We've all got both light and dark inside us. What matters is a part we choose to act on. That's who we really are." There you go. Thank you guys so much for listening. Ya saben, Chiquis and Chill every Monday. Os quiero mucho. Les mando un beso. Mwah. Do you need advice on love, relationships, health, y más? I'm so excited to share with you that my Chiquis and Chill podcast will have an extra episode drop each week. I'll be answering all your questions. Just leave me a voice message con todas tus preguntas y yo te las voy a contestar personalmente. All you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/Chiquis and Chill podcast and record your questions. I can't wait to hear from you. This is a production of iHeartRadio and the My Cultura Podcast Network. Follow us on Instagram at My Cultura Podcast and follow me, Chiquis, that's CHIQUIS. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.